the first thing I want to ask you is, what is the origin of marriage? Like, are you familiar with that story?
Yeah, I'm
Like,
sort of familiar.
love?
No, it was always political, right? Like historically, these things were for political unions, right? Back in the, English common law, these were really meant to tie estates together to make sure that, in agricultural society, that, the wife was taken care of. She wasn't left, on the streets without some sort of, compensation because she wasn't working. She wasn't able to obtain an income. And concepts like common law emerged because, and if you see the states where they still exist or where they're still in the books, a lot of them were frontier states. So they were out in the middle of nowhere where there's no judge, there's no, court system or government, and people would just live together on a farm and, never solidify it. So they said, okay, we need some process because the woman needs to be able to take this when her husband dies of dysentery on the Oregon Trail. You're going to need somebody to take that over.
Yeah, there's a really good book by this author. Her name's Stephanie Coots, and she wrote a book called Marriage: A History.
Cool.
And she basically collected court records, personal diaries, like every piece of data that she could throughout history, as far back as was available. And it really boils down to this: the whole point of marriage has never been about love; it's always been about the acquisition of in-laws.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's a huge benefit if you think about it, especially back in the day when you're thinking about, business, linking lands, making connections. That was really how things were done traditionally. But
there was no state interference. If you wanted to untie the knot and get rid of your wife, you just send her off, and you'd probably keep the kids and everything she brought to the table.
Right. And there usually had to be a good reason to annul a marriage, especially if you're in a Catholic country where it wasn't really supported unless there was like a crazy reason. So, I mean, you needed some fault. Now we're in a no fault situation. Even my mother, when I asked her, then I see the no fault question.
There's a question about no fault right there.
He predicted it.
Times.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Could Andrew talk about no fault divorce and maybe the history and how it changed over time? Cheers and thanks for the content. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that changed in the benefit of during the sexual revolution because, before you had to have some sort of reason. So infidelity would have been a reason. And even like I said, when I talked to my mother, she said, well, if your wife cheats, then that's reason for a divorce. I said, Mom, we don't need that anymore. You may be thinking way back, but that doesn't exist. You can get divorced because you feel like it. It's no fault. Mm-hmm. So, and there are a couple states that have this weird thing called covenant marriage, which limits the reasons to kind of pre-sexual revolution where there has to be infidelity or some other major issue, domestic violence.
This is at fault divorce, because there was a guy that I had on last week that basically had a private investigator follow around his wife, collected data on who she was banging, basically, and took a lot of evidence, and there's a lot of drugs that were involved as well too. But long story short, because of the fault process that he used, he ended up getting full custody. She pays him money, and like it was just a total win for him, like the whole thing. But you guys,
that's crazy.
The last episode, it's number 85.
You have to watch that. You have to figure out the situation, and you got to know that situation may not apply where you live and may not apply to your situation. So even if you've hired that private investigator, even if you catch her in the act and you've got the bag of cocaine, you may not still be able to do anything in terms of alimony or that. Maybe it'll apply to child support payments. Obviously, if there's drug involved or drug-related activities, that's going to impact any custody. But that's a separate issue.